Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the PHNX Wildcats show, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Head to any Circle K Arizona location where you can get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents just now through September 3rd. Hello, Saul Bookman. How are you doing, my good friend?
What's going on, Mike? How are we doing?
I'm very excited, slumming it up in here in Tahoe, but you know what? No days off around here. No days off. All right,
Yeah.
a lot to get to this show. We're going to talk Arizona football, Arizona basketball, your expectations, our expectations, everybody's expectations in the Big 12. We are going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk about the Apple deal that wasn't, but was tweeted about yesterday. Pelle Larsson, my bad, Pelle, and a few other issues. But first, woke up to some very sad news this morning with Donnell Knight. With Donnell Knight, he was a player that I followed around a ton going into my when he was in high school with the Arizona Stars. I know you played against him, Saul Bookman. Let's just talk about that a little bit. He had a sibling that passed or a son that passed, and that's been out there. But just kind of what were your memories?
Yeah, losing a kid is just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. That was really some sad news to wake up to this morning. And, our prayers go out to him, and we hope that everything, they can get through this as best they can. But, I remember Donnell playing against him in high school. We played against him. He was at Corona. I was at Marcos, and he was a phenomenal talent. A great player. And I think we have an image as well that I sent that we can upload as well. That, it was pretty cool. That's him, number 42, as a freshman on that Corona del Sol team. And he was a fantastic player. Ended up going to ASU, and I know U of A had some interest there for a little while, but just a really good player. Talked a lot of trash, but as a freshman starting on varsity at Corona, I mean, you deserve to talk a little bit of trash, right? And that was the biggest thing I remember about him. And the other thing was really, when they played in the state championship the year before, he was a sophomore right there, my bad, the year before, and they went up against Mike Bibby and them. I remember him trying to block a shot and hitting the backboard like damn near, I felt like at the top of the backboard, right? He was just a phenomenal talent. And so family tragedy is never easy to deal with, and especially when it's a child of yours. And I couldn't even imagine being in that situation. So I just hope that they find the strength to be able to get through this for sure.
All right, we put the tweet out there and about Donnell and how you can help him out if you can. But like I said, very good stuff. I mean, not good stuff, but just help him out if you can. So
okay, Mike, we can't hear your mic. So like Mike was saying, it's just one of those things where we're trying to get through. A family's trying to get through these moments and find their way. And we want to wish them nothing but the best as we move forward. So good luck to them. But in other news, Mike, there's no way to really transition from tragedy to sports. But one of the things I know you wanted to talk about was this Arizona football team. And so hopefully I have this right. But this Arizona football team's got a lot of things going for it. But we wanted to reset some expectations and some what we expect to see this season, what we hope can happen, and go from there. Mike, is your sound back? No, you got to turn up your mic, buddy. The other way. Yeah. So unfortunately, we have some technical difficulties here. One of the things that
is this any better?
One of the things that this is just a clusterfuck, people. I don't know what to say.
Hey, Saul.
I don't know what to say here. Oh my goodness. One of the things that the expectation of this team is that their team is going to perform at a high level, and and when you're looking at the offense specifically, let's start there. The offense has got to be one of the best in the country, especially with the talent it has and the offensive linemen that are returning and some of the pieces they've added. My expectation this season for this offense is that they will be a top 10 team in the country. I just feel like with the talent that they have, it would be unbelievable if they weren't. With T-Mac, and Noah obviously leading the charge, but you got other pieces around, and you want to see that development. You want to see them move forward, and you want to see them, perform at a high level. I think the first 2 games of the season, they're going to be able to work out a lot of kinks, and by the time they get to Kansas State on the road, I do think they're going to find their groove, and I think that's going to be their coming out party to really establish themselves as a top tier team in the Big 12. Mike, you still there? You good?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank goodness.
All right, yes, all right. I do apologize about all that.
All good. You might have to turn down the volume on your laptop or whatever because you can hear me speaking in the background.
Here.
There we go.
Okay.
Now see.
All right, now let's talk a little. Saul, you did an amazing job, and that's why you are the boss. Okay, now I do apologize about that. I will get my headphones here then. All right. Now, I'll tell you what, Saul, take this just for a second. Let me get my headphones. I apologize. Won't happen again, people.
Okay. All right. Well, the shit show continues today, folks. We're not prepared at all. I apologize. Listen,
how you doing, Saul?
Sometimes shit happens, and you just got to go with the flow. I'm not doing a very good job of going with the flow right now.
Well, it's impossible to go with the flow, and the flow is flowing in 4 different directions.
It is impossible to do that. So,
have
Mike will be here.
Have you guys gone through exactly what your record predictions are game by game?
I don't think we have, and I think we're probably waiting on that until we get closer to the season. But
you're not like the Cardinals where they're doing a schedule game by game prediction every single show. They did that yesterday again.
Oh my goodness.
All right, Mike, let's see.
No.
All right, I am here. I'm the headphones are on. Everything good?
Yes.
Okay. Now, sorry about that, everybody. This will never happen again. I apologize. All right, so let's talk about Saul. I got a question for you here. Looking at what are your expectations for the U of A this year in the Big 12? And we're going to go with football and basketball first. Saul Bookman, not looking at any breakdowns, anything. What do you expect when we sit here in 4 months?
I expect this team to be 9-3.
Okay.
And I think if they play well, then they could easily be, 10-2, 11-1.
Right.
I think it's almost impossible to go undefeated in the Big 12, especially this version of the Big 12, with the teams that they're going to have to play on the road, mainly Kansas State, Utah. You could even throw Central Florida in there. Those are going to be some tough games because of those environments. So I would say 9-3.
Yes, I would say 9-3. That is my bare line minimum, though. And we talked about this on previous shows. I need 9 wins. I got to get 9 wins. And I look at it and I think to myself that there's a couple different avenues to be able to traverse to be able to get that. And we're going to be up at Kansas State. And obviously they play Utah after that. Saul, I need to be able to get, if my goal with that is to be able to split. If you can split, I think that you're in a much better spot at that point. Listen, if you go 3-1, and then you've got kind of an easy part of the schedule, you got your Texas Techs of the world coming in. I get all that, but that is and protect home. That to me is the one thing. If you go 0-2, which is a distinct possibility because these are top 20 teams, then I don't feel as good about it. 1-1, I want 3-1 after the first 4 games, Saul Bookman.
3-1 after the first 4 games is a good way to go about it for sure. I would say if they went 0-2 in that 2-game stretch, I don't think it's the end of the world. I mean, hell, I could see them reeling off 6 or 7 in a row. No problem. They did that last year. Right. They got on a nice little heater and to end the season and they were competitive. So I would say 9-3. I would say my bare minimum would be 8-4.
Got
just because, like I said, and you're bound to have some hiccups. Can you get through those hiccups? And there's always a surprise team, a team that outperforms. Hell, we were that surprise team last year. We shocked a lot of people. Who's going to be that surprise team this year? And will we catch them at the wrong or right time? That's another thing, right? And that happens every single season. That surprise team this year could be Colorado. That surprise team this year could be Central Florida. It could be a host of teams. So that would be my takeaway.
Yeah, now I got another question for you. Basketball and football. Which one do you find more likely? Because they both are going to be about the same odds. Which one do you find more likely to win the Big 12 conference, Saul Bookman, in the inaugural year? Both have chances.
Football.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, football by a mile.
And that's where I want to go with this. Arizona basketball is probably going to be ranked probably preseason like 11 or 12, somewhere around there. Football is probably going to be about 22, something like that. But when you look at the Big 12, when you look at the gauntlet, with basketball, when you look at that gauntlet, I do think that it's just going to be hard, man. It's like we talked about all season. If you go what? Let's say third in the Big 12, you can still get a 2 seed. You can still get a 3 seed. Whereas in the Big 12, I go into every single game, no matter where you at, and I'm thinking, man, still got a pretty good chance of being able to win this game. Whereas, let's be honest here, when we go into Fog Allen Fieldhouse, I don't know that I'm expecting to win that game, Saul. I hope to win that game, but I don't know that I'm expecting to win that game. Whereas we go to Kansas State, we go to Utah, and I think that Arizona's got a very realistic chance of winning those games. A little bit different in basketball in that first year. Plus, there's going to be a little bit of a shell shock, I think, from playing Big 12 teams and just playing them game in, game out, game in, game out. I agree with you. I think football is the more likely one, Saul.
Yeah, I think it's football for a variety of different reasons, though. Arizona's established in basketball, despite the fact that they haven't gotten to the Final Four since, 2001 and won a national championship since 97. But they've been relevant. They've been a top 25, top 20, top 15, top 10. They've been number 1 in the country. Like, they've been a relevant program. So, like, when you go into Fog Allen, Kansas isn't taking Arizona lightly.
Right.
Neither is any other team. Now, I'm not going to say that anybody's going to take Arizona lightly in football, but I don't think that Arizona comes in with the prestige of history behind it as much as a Kansas would. And so I think, you might catch some teams maybe, not taking them as seriously as they should, I guess you could say.
Right.
And I think because of that, they're going to surprise a lot of people, in my opinion. Even though you saw a lot of tape last year of how good this team can be, I think they got another level to go. And think about it. Like, these guys, they all came back and they're going to be much improved.
Right.
On top of what they did last year.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the offense. So I was talking with somebody that might know a little bit, and he said, the one thing that's going to be a little bit different about this year's Arizona football team is he says that you're going to get something where there's going to be a lot more running involved. And he said, not that last year's team didn't run, because you had Jonah Coleman, you had Michael Wiley, we talked about it. You had a stable of backs. But what's going to be fascinating to me, Saul, is what that run pass delineation is, because you've got a guy in Noah Fifita that we know is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But we got to be honest here, though, too. If the offensive line comes together, you look at Brent Brennan's track record. This is a dude that likes to run the ball. This is a guy that's had multiple 1,000-yard backs in the past. Not only has he had 1,000-yard backs in the past, he likes running 2 tight end sets, which is going to be a staple of it. So, Saul, Noah Fifita might not have the statistical numbers, but I also think that they expect to run the ball a lot more. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch how this plays out, because it could be a lot different than last year.
I think it's just going to be a nice, healthy balance, like kind of a little bit like last year. Like, I didn't think that they were overwhelming in one area over the other last year. I didn't feel like they were just an air out attack or just a ground and pound. And I think they're going to see much of the same this year. You can't focus too much on the run when you have the talent at the wideout position that you have, right? You have to get those guys involved. And so I think they're going to find a nice, healthy balance there. So I would agree that this is going to be a premier team, but you can't just go all in on one aspect of what they do. That's the thing about, like, let's just say K-State, right? I feel like K-State has a weakness, and it's going to have to be proven. Avery Johnson's a good quarterback, but he doesn't have the plethora or caliber of receiver that Noah Fifita has.
Right.
So who's going to perform better? I think Noah Fifita is going to perform better. I actually think Noah Fifita is going to throw for over 4,000 yards this year.
You know what? I totally agree with you. I think here's where I think it's intoxicating when you have a good quarterback. And I think it's difficult at times probably to rear back a little bit. But when you have a quarterback like Noah Fifita that can let's be honest here. I mean, Noah Fifita is the quarterback. You watch him. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes. If I go into a game, and I remember Noah's dad told me this one time when we had him on. By the way, working on getting him on next week, so that'd be great to have him on. He said, listen, I expect my son, if he's going into a game where he's going to throw the ball 50 times, you can't, a lot of quarterbacks or a lot of coaches will be like, well, you know what, we can put up with 2 or 3 interceptions there. That's not how I raised my kid. I don't care if you're throwing the ball 100 times. there can't be the expectation, well, don't worry, you're going to get that throw back. And you saw that last year. I think the expectation was just that he was going to be able to throw the ball and there would be some interceptions, and he's got better. Everything turned out pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, he's always been careful with the ball. And we apologize. I guess there's some audio difficulties on this stream. But he's always been careful with the ball. And honestly, every single time I've watched, every single time I've played college football, I will say this: he does lead the country in college football 25 in accuracy and percentage. So,
right. I mean, you got to put that. That's got to count for something there. So we'll certainly put it at that. But either way, I believe the football team is more likely than the basketball team to win. As far as the audio, I have people listening. I don't think it sounds bad, but whatever. We'll deal with it after the show. But so anyways, going back to this though, I think it's going to be fascinating. Also, Dwayne Akina on the defensive side of the ball. Let's talk about the defensive side. And I think that's where it's interesting as well. Akina said that the one thing about it is he wants to have more pressure. He wants to be able to get more pressure after the quarterback. And last year, I thought they did a pretty good job, honestly, with the pressure on the quarterback. And so you lose Taylor Upshaw. You lose a big Bill Norton. But he said the big thing that Akina wants is he wants to be able to get upfield. He wants to, whereas last year, a big part of it with BBN and Sione was to be able to control just their gaps. He wants to be able to push it upfield, and that's where a guy like a Kevon Darton comes in from Syracuse, players like that. So he wants more out of the defensive tackles. Go ahead. Gone are the days of the tweener defensive linemen. Every single dude on this roster, except for one, is over 6'2". Every single one is damn near over 300 pounds. Yes.
And you have to have that kind of girth if you're going to compete in the Big 12.
Right.
We all know that. Listen, I think that's the thing that gives me a lot of hope and optimism to even play against the big dogs, is that I feel like physically we can match up no matter what. At every position, we can match up physically. Now it's just about execution and talent. And I think in that regard, we should be able to win out more than not. And again, the way they revamped this entire defense, and it started with Jed Fish. I'm not taking anything away from that. It started with Jed Fish. They revamped the entire, really the physical DNA of this entire defensive and offensive unit. It gives you a lot of hope as we move forward.
Yes, so we'll keep an eye on that. But defensively, I don't think they're going to take a huge step back. I think of the defensive backfield, and you put this out there a while back, I think their safeties are fantastic. I think the cornerbacks and Marquise Killebrew, whose father listens to the show, he also made the point that, he thinks that you're going to see a special player in his son, and I know that the coaching staff feels that way as well. So I have pretty high expectations for this year's team. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this question, Mike.
What's
okay, let's go through the secondary right now. You tell me top tier or no tier. Just give me those two, okay? Ready? Takario Davis.
Top tier.
Traden Stukes.
Top tier.
Gunnar Maldonado.
Top tier.
Genesis Smith.
Top tier.
Gavin Hunter.
No tier.
Marquise Groves Killebrew.
Yeah, that's an I, but potential for top tier.
Okay, so right there.
Yeah.
By itself. You already named 4, possibly 5.
And you forgot Dalton Johnson, another starter safety, top tier as well.
Again, they have flexibility too, because some of those guys can be nickel. They can play as just a straight up corner, and they can even modify and go to that safety position or even that hybrid safety, cornerback, even linebacker position. Because Traden Stukes, there was a lot of flexibility with him last year. And he was able to play at a high level. And his improvement year over year was fantastic. And you're looking at all these other guys and seeing, okay, can they make that same kind of jump and improvement? Gunnar Maldonado finished the season so phenomenally well last year. Can he even make a jump? Genesis Smith, same thing. A lot of these guys have an opportunity to get better than they were before. And they were a fucking good team last year.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. That's the exciting part about it. Now, let me go a little bit further. We've talked all offseason about Jacob Manu. By the way, top tier, Saul Bookman, would you agree on Jacob Manu, top tier?
Yes.
All right. I think they're going to do, and what I think this coaching staff and what Dwayne Aquino wants to do, is he wants to be able to get as many guys close to the line as possible. And listen, there's been a question about that other linebacker, and I think there's going to be that question. So what he would like to do, and I think you're going to see a lot of this, is you're going to see the dollar package. And what I mean by that is you're going to essentially go with a 3 safety type look. You're going to have Gunnar Maldonado. You're also going to have Dalton Johnson, but you're going to have Genesis Smith, who's probably the best NFL safety prospect on the team, and he is going to be moved up closer to the line of scrimmage. And you might say, well, Mike, he's a safety. He's also 6'3", 220 pounds. He's more of that Roy Williams type safety.
Yeah.
But Saul, that's where I love coaches that do not try to pigeonhole, do not try to put things into a box. They look at their talent, they look what they have, and they say, okay, here's where I need to be able to go with that. I think you're going to see exactly that with this U of A football team.
You know who's really, really intriguing for me? I know we've talked about him at length multiple times because the expectation didn't really meet the reality last year.
Who's that?
But I'll give him a little bit of a pass. Justin Flo.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Let's talk Flo.
All right. So and I'm not trying to besmirch anybody, but when you look at Justin Flo and you look at Jacob Manu, and you told me one of these guys is one of the premier linebackers in the country, I don't think you would have said Jacob Manu. Right, I think physically you would look at Justin Flo and be like, oh, well, it's him, right? But Jacob Manu has everything that you want in a linebacker outside of the physical, measurable size, right? But then when you look at Justin Flo, going from Oregon to here, and thinking maybe they just didn't, he didn't get a lot of PT over at Oregon. He comes here, same thing kind of happens again. And you're kind of like, okay, is it me, or is it my talent, or what am I doing wrong? And I think Justin Flo had to have taken some time in the last 4 or 5 months to kind of evaluate himself and figure out where is he going wrong and how can he improve enough to get on the field more and make a difference, because the kid is physically, he's gifted.
Right.
And intensity wise, he's a psycho,
right? Which
I love on the defensive side of the ball. Like, he definitely reminds me of that middle linebacker off the program. You can't tell me otherwise. Like, and
he looks like him too.
Yes. He's probably at the line of scrimmage saying some crazy shit like that too. Right. So like, how can they utilize him? Because he would be good in some spots, but can he develop enough to be a more adequate player all the way around and be utilized in a lot more than just spot play? He's intriguing for me.
You want to know a pretty cool story about him as well? He's also a great guy. Now, Joseph says, nothing is going to hit like Mike utter his first My Bad Flow. I would love to do that. Yes. But I got a pretty cool story about him. And so basically what happens is here's how
my thing would be #go with the flow.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. But I also need to be able to poke fun at myself for being wrong about something. Saul Bookman, your hashtag will be with go with the flow. Mine will be My Bad Flow. Both the way. But I want to. So basically, here's how my days go. I get up very early. I generally start pestering Jacob around 7. That's But then I get down to the U of A. I get down there at about 8. And I start going around, just seeing what's going on, start pestering maybe some coaches and stuff, whatever. But Justin Flo did something that I thought was really cool. This was about a month ago, and I keep meaning to bring it up. Outside, when you go into the U of A, when you go into the Lowell Stevens facility where everybody goes in, there was, I don't know if it was a class or I don't know exactly what it was, but there was an assembly line of people that were walking in. And Justin Flo went to the door. Didn't see nobody looking or anything outside of those people, held the door for 20 people, 25 people or whatever. It was just one of those kind of spontaneous moment things where you're like, dude, that's just a really cool moment right there. Wasn't looking, didn't get any kudos, any pat on the back. But by all accounts, this is somebody that everybody wants this to work out for him because he's a good dude. And it's going to be exciting to see exactly how that plays out. But I always wanted to bring that up. Flo to me is definitely a wild card in all of this, and it will be interesting to see. You know what else is a wild card, but in a good way, Saul Bookman, because you never know how great it's going to be? Circle K. Here's the deal.
I always know how great it's going to be.
No, because there's varying levels. There's great, there's elite, there's beyond elite.
While you do that, I got to do some shit in the background. Keep going.
Okay.
I was gonna wait until we played a video.
Oh yeah, what do we got? Okay, all right. Will you wait? I'll get the quick
to read, Mike.
Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Shane Diefenbach. I can guarantee that the great Shane Diefenbach likes Circle K. I like Circle K. Shane
I love Circle K.
Yes. Now, what is your favorite thing to get at Circle K?
I'm a huge gas station pastry guy.
Oh, very nice. Your ex-AAU coach, Kyle Dodd, likes getting the sausage and cheese sandwich there. He actually put out a picture of it the other day. I bet you, did you know this?
I did not know this, Mike Luke.
I was going to say, well, no, that's very cool. And here's the thing. If it's good enough for Kyle Dodd, if Kyle Dodd likes Circle K, then anybody should like Circle K because Kyle Dodd is a man of the people, as is Saul Bookman. What did you put up? Oh, I like that, Saul Bookman. Very, very good pictures right there.
Noah and T-Mac up. I'm not trying to watch the last place team up on my wall. Come on.
Yes,
now.
Check that out. All right, Circle K, my friends. Also, one other thing that we got to talk about too, the Desert Financial Credit Union. We will get back to that in a second. But the Desert Financial Credit Union. Here's the deal. Let's say you're going to Circle K and you're like, man, I wish I had a little bit extra money there, and I wish I was banking with somebody that was for the people, by the people. Desert Financial Credit Union, my friends. Here is the deal, Saul Bookman. Let me tell you the great deal about Desert Financial Credit Union. When you open a free checking account online, my friend, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Again, $200 in bonuses. $200 goes a long way, my friend, in this day and age. $200 goes a long way. And again, it's everywhere, and they're only expanding. You go to Phoenix, you see them everywhere. Desert Financial Credit Union. Who doesn't need those $200?
Who doesn't?
Yes, exactly. So check it out. But anyways, Desert Financial Credit Union, you could see them up in Phoenix. You could see them up in Tucson, all kinds of good stuff. Get that extra $200, my friend. Everybody needs it. Check it out. You will thank me later. Okay, now, I have to issue another apology. Pelle Larsson. And we're going to get to a little bit of some other talk. I don't know if you've seen Pelle Larsson in the NBA Summer League, Saul Bookman.
Oh, yeah. Game winner on the Elam ending.
Yep. And guess what he did? He did it dribbling the basketball, something that I spent 2 years saying that he couldn't do. My bad, Pelle. This, again, joking aside, this is really cool to see. And if there was ever a Miami Heat player, it is Pelle Larsson. To a T. It's going to fit right in there with Jaime Jaquez. I apologize, but it's cool to see what he's doing. And when they gave him that guaranteed cash immediately, you knew that they felt pretty good about him.
Yeah, I mean, they knew that he was going to be a contributor off their bench this upcoming season. I don't think players sometimes they just change when they get to the NBA for good or for better or worse. And I think Pelle is definitely, I think he might have been more suited to play in the NBA as opposed to college basketball with the structures and the zones and, the lengthy time to shoot the ball. Like Pelle's a good player. He's always been a good player. So, I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do at the Miami Heat. He was fantastic yesterday. He's gotten rave reviews during this entire summer league process, as has Kashad Johnson, and so I'm happy for him for sure.
Yeah. All right. Now going forward a little bit with Arizona basketball, this I think is a very good point that Tommy Lloyd was able. Listen, Pelle Larsson came in here from Utah. Not really sure what to expect from the young man, and he consistently got better. And I think that's something that when we look at Lloyd in the transfer portal, he's going to continue to be able to sell people on, Saul. I mean, you look at Pelle Larsson. When Pelle Larsson got here, obviously a little out of shape, didn't look great, consistently got better into where he became an NBA player. You mentioned Keshad Johnson as well. Same thing. Got here and was known kind of as a junkyard dog, a Gene Edgerson type. Became a three-point shooter, is killing it in the summer league. Everybody, Umar Ballo came here as a transfer. Caleb Love came here as a transfer. His ability to be able to improve players is pretty impressive when you look at the transfer portal, Saul.
Yeah, we've talked about the development that Tommy Lloyd has been able to impress upon these recruits and these transfers, and It's really remarkable. Like I feel like he's almost hitting 1,000 right now. There's the occasional guy that maybe just doesn't, have enough time or just doesn't really quite like Justin Kier was good, but he wasn't like phenomenal.
Right.
And he never found like that next level. Right. But everybody else, even if you take Benedict Mathurin, right? Not a transfer. He was already in the program, but he went from Miller to Lloyd, and you saw the remarkable jump in ability from one coach to the next. And that's not a knock on Sean Miller, because typically you make that big transition from your freshman to your sophomore year. But when you add that into all the other players that have come under Tommy Lloyd as transfers, and you see how they developed, you got to think that one thing led to another to some degree with Benedict Mathurin. And so that's the number one thing I love about Tommy Lloyd. I have no doubts that players under Tommy Lloyd will develop and play at a high level at some point during their tenure with Arizona if they just stick with it, because he's proven that he can get the most out of them, especially offensively.
How about Christian Coloco? I mean, you got a guy that 2 years kind of looked lost, kind of looked like a deer in the headlights. And I'll never forget Tommy Lloyd's first press conference when I actually asked him, I said, what are your expectations for Christian Coloco? And keep in mind, Christian Coloco averaged like 4 points and 4 rebounds per game the previous year. And he said, I think he can be the defensive player of the year in the conference. And just all of this stuff. And everyone's like, all right. And lo and behold, after I think it was like game 3 against Michigan when he destroyed Hunter Dickinson, you're like, oh, but here's also where Lloyd's a cool dude. So at a presser, probably about 2 months later, when it became clear that this guy was going to be rubber stamped as the conference defensive player of the year, I said, Coach, you put that out there, nobody believed you. And he said, well, the people that didn't believe me didn't know. What I was putting out there really wasn't something that should have been any kind of a secret. It was just cool to hear somebody say something like that. I thought that was interesting. But
he believes in those players, man.
Right. Now, let's the genius about, I wanted to move over to realignment here for a little bit. The genius, I think, of what Arizona did with the Big 12 was getting the stability. And we've talked about this, ad nauseum. But the latest news with Apple, I thought, was fairly interesting. And Shane, if we could put that tweet up, that would be very much appreciated. So here's the deal. After spending $20 billion on shows and blah, 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 Apple TV Apple TV is basically saying that they're going to cut back significantly on their streaming and stuff like that, because they just don't know exactly how it's going to work. And that was something that always made me a little uncomfortable. Saul, I totally agree with you that, streaming has to be a very significant aspect of it. But this is why I would never felt comfortable about the 100% aspect to it.
Apple is it's a different model. I wonder what Prime brings in. Prime's a little bit different just because of the amount of people on it. That because it's a dual platform. It's not just, movies and streaming. It's also, shopping. So that leads you from one to another. So there's a constant movement of information in front of your eyes when you're on the Amazon Prime app. Apple TV is a little bit different, because when you go to Apple TV, I know for myself, right? When I click on Apple TV, the first thing that pops up sometimes is like the streaming, the series or the movies that are there. But there's also this other column of other things that they have to offer, and some of those things they're just telling you like, "Hey, this is live right now," and then it takes you to a different app completely. Right. Like if the Diamondbacks are playing and I click on the game, it'll take me to the MLB app, which is a bad business model.
That makes no sense.
You never take people away from your own app ever. Right. Why they do that is beyond me. That's the number one reason why Elon wanted to take away links on Twitter, because he didn't want people clicking on those links and getting out and not coming back.
Right.
And so that's just not a good business model. They have good programming.
They do.
Their shows are legit. Obviously when you're looking at Ted Lasso, Shrinking is like my favorite series of all time. Fantastic. They had some things there that were fantastic, but man, you talk about just an epic failure for a company that usually gets it on the digital, in the digital space. You can see why there was hesitation, not to defend the Pac-12, but hesitation to completely go all in without getting a deal elsewhere, even though they were about to, because that was the last resort.
Right. Especially too, taking less, because if you remember, the Apple deal was essentially what, I know you can get 31 million over here, but take 24 million here, and then you can get it on the back end as well. And I've got to give a lot of these presidents some credit here, because when they heard about we can get that on the back end, they've heard that before. They heard that with the Pac-12 media, or the Pac-12 network, that you're going to be able to get it on the back end, all kinds of stuff like that. And it just never really materialized. I just thought that was interesting. It also leads me to believe too, that I mean, make no mistake. And Saul, you know this stuff better than me because you're a tech savant. I am not. But streaming is obviously the wave of the future. But there's a happy middle ground right now that I think everybody is trying to figure out exactly what that is. And if that wasn't the case, the SEC and the Big Ten would have done 100% streaming at that point, if that was what they were looking at. So if they weren't going to do it, I don't know that the Pac-12 should have done it.
I've always thought we're in like a weird like middle ground with streaming, because it's like we're not fully there yet with the constant buffering, because like Wi-Fi in general just doesn't matter how good it is, it still can't support it, it's still inconsistent, and they aren't packaged yet. You don't really know what you're getting and how you're getting it. So but cable's is archaic, quote unquote. So you just don't know.
There's multiple factors here, right? When you're talking about streaming and Wi-Fi, like Shane just said, it's not just about that. It's about like the timeliness of it, right? My number one frustration with streaming is that if I'm on Twitter and I'm looking at something and somebody's watching the game either locally on like local broadcast television, which obviously there's no buffer, there's no delay outside of like the 7-second delay, or they are at the game itself. I mean, I feel like I'm a good full minute behind everybody else, and that's frustrating as hell. So that is a pause for concern. And then on top of that, you have way too many, and I'm not trying to be ageist at all, but you have a lot of older people that just grew up in that legacy media era, and they're going to refuse to move forward with streaming predominantly, and maybe just in complete solitude until the money actually meets up with what they think they should be getting. And I think we're at least about 5 years away from that.
Yeah, that's another point that I think, isn't necessarily brought up enough. Like, I have a lot of people in my family that really like sports. You know what they don't do though? They don't stream. They don't do any of that. Their streaming for them is basically Netflix, and that's it. I mean, that's essentially the extent.
A different generation though.
I agree with you with that, but I'm saying that's still that generation that's still kind of, that's just still kind of there.
You're the last ones keeping cable alive.
No, for sure. I mean, because, our generation, it's going to be all streaming at some point, but that's just not quite where we're at this point.
The biggest problem, and I would love if a conference or a league would figure this out. Like, I get you want to get all the money. I do. But my God, just think about like the NFL and the NBA this season. There's like 18 different streaming services that you got to figure out where your game is going to be on at any given point in time this upcoming year. Like, that's just a lot. That's too much. And if you're asking for every single person to download at $5 to $15 a pop each one of those separate apps, it's too much. And so then your bill starts to look like the cable bill. And at some point, somebody is going to have to step up and take ownership of a majority of that stuff to make it a little bit more worthwhile and condense it, because it's just too difficult.
You know what's not too much, though, Saul, is Four Peaks. Every time I drink Four Peaks, I think to myself, man, this kilt lifter is really strong. This kilt lifter is really, really good. And what's also exciting, too, is the Four Peaks, their van goes up and down University. There is a Four Peaks van, and it might be the coolest van out there. I looked like a total putz the other day because when I looked, what's that?
The Wow Wheat van?
Yeah. You know the one I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Yes. So it goes by, and I'm eating
the Joy Bus.
And I'm eating at Chipotle, and I said, oh my gosh, it's the Four Peaks. And these people next to me just looked at me like, as I'm taking a picture of this, like, why is this guy taking a picture of this van? I just wanted to do it so I could real time it. But either way, Four Peaks, very good stuff. Shane Dievenbach, what is your favorite Four Peaks?
It's the Hazy. I'm a big fan of the Hazy.
The Hazy, yeah. Very, very good. Check it out. All right, now here's the deal. Visit fourpeaks.com/locator to find all your favorite beers and events. Check out at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 years or older to drink Four Peaks. Please enjoy responsibly. Saul Bookman, what is your favorite Four Peaks?
Peach ale. I
Oh,
like it.
peach ale. All right.
Yeah, I
All
like
right.
it.
Very,
I like it light.
I know that you're going to be having a company get together here next month. I would expect some Four Peaks will be there as well. Is this not?
Always
All right.
4 Peaks.
All right. Now, one other thing. While you're drinking your Four Peaks, you might say, man, I already feel cool. What could send me into next orbit? Shady Rays. Shady Rays is where it is at, my friend. When you see Shane Diefenbach walking around, you don't just see a 6'5" person. You see somebody that just reeks coolness. And that just reeks Shady Rays. Check it out. When you get Shady Rays exclusively for the listeners, too. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Saul, don't know if you heard about this or not.
I have. And you should check out Shady Rays because you can save up to...
You can save up to 35%.
There you go,
my friend. Very
Kevin
good
Durant special is what I like to call it, 35% off.
Ooh.
Also, if you haven't gone to Shady Rays, like, listen, I know like the sunglasses are all good, but our guy Max Simpson has been sporting the blue light glasses that Shady Rays also offers, and they look really, really good compared to most other blue light glasses. They look legit. They ease the strain of your eyes on your screen. So if you work in front of the computer all day long, you should check out Shady Rays. Get yourself a pair for for 35% off by using promo code PHNX at shadysrays.com. You can get the glasses that over 300,000 people rate 5 stars in the world.
Yep, polarized, not polarizing. Check it out, Shady Rays. All kinds of really good stuff. I mean, maybe
they are polarizing though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in a good way. Maybe in a good way. By the way, off topic a little bit. Guess what? Guess what's going to be sported tomorrow on the show, Saul Bookman?
What's that?
The inner circle hat.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Tomorrow it's going to be a watershed moment. Very, very, very exciting. So we will obviously keep you up to date on that. Okay. So anyways, back to what I wanted to get to though, just with the Big 12 and everything. I feel that we're at a point now with Arizona football and Arizona basketball that we're in a good spot. And I think people, you touched on this a lot on Friday. Thanks for filling in, by the way. And that Arizona is just we've been through a lot of crap, Saul. And I always want to try to remember this. I mean, heck, we've seen 70-7. We've seen the 20-game losing streak that was only lost because Cal couldn't field a team because of COVID. We've seen the FBI stuff. Right now, we got 2 top 25 entities. We're going into a conference that cares about sports. Baseball, I know, did not finish great, but guess what? They still won the conference as well. You're going into a conference, too, where the commissioner is a beast. He's got all kinds of stuff up his sleeve. I think sometimes people just need to sit back a little bit and just say, man, life's good right now.
You got to enjoy it while it's good. If you don't, you're just looking for misery all the time, and that's just not a good way to live.
Right.
We're in a good spot, man. I think every single team is a winning team.
Right. It really is. And it's the marquee, again, across the board, but it's the marquee sports that so often we would have to hear about, oh gosh, all right, well, here we go again. Something like that. That's not really the case anymore. And that's why I think we got to enjoy it.
Softball, baseball, women's basketball, football, all winning records this year.
Yeah.
All competitive, all near the top of their leagues. Like, what's not to love?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then that's not even to mention the Olympic sports, and swimming and diving and track and field. And there's a tremendous amount of success that's going on right now for this school, man. And you just gotta love it, man.
And that's why there's also no better time to become a PHNX diehard. This is very true. My good friend Back the A Ray is now in the Discord chat. He is giving us all kinds of cool stuff. A couple new people joined as well. You got Kobe in there. You got the great Erica L. Day, Andy Bryant. This is a very good time to become a PHNX diehard. And also, you got great merchandise. You got those really cool loyalty shirts, by the way, that went like hotcakes. Very good time to become PHNX diehard. Go to gophnx.com, sign up, and you will thank me later on this. Plus, it means more access to Saul Bookman. Look at it that way.
There you go.
It's pretty good stuff. And, Shane's on there as well on the other Discord, but all kinds of really good stuff. All right. Now, check it out. Diehard membership, free t-shirt of your choice from the locker, access to all your premium written content, entrance to the Discord lounge, discounts on all events. Check it out. All kinds of good stuff. All right. Before we sign off here, I wanted to give one last one last, just put it out there about Donnell Knight again. This morning, Donnell Knight, for people who don't know, ex-ASU player, one of the more talented players that I've seen come through Arizona. Child passed away. Put out on Twitter how you can help out if you can. But Saul, I mean, you played against Donnell. Just kind of, what are your kind of thoughts just to wrap this one up?
You know, just really, again, I just want to reiterate my condolences to him and his family. I hope they're able to they're able to find some type of peace here in the near future. It's never a good time to lose a child ever. It's just one of the worst things that can happen to you as a parent, is that. And so, our thoughts and our prayers go out to him and his family, and I hope they can find some strength through this really difficult time.
Right. Exactly. Again, this is something I always put out there. You know, we're fortunate enough to be working in sports, people. This is real life out there. And I think people sometimes just need to remember that. But on that note, though, I do actually, before
you go, I do want to say another way for you to be able to support Donnell. And I did find this out. He actually has his own business. And
I didn't know that.
It's called Juice Period. And it's all natural health products. All juices that are healthy, cold pressed, small batch. He started this during the pandemic, and now is a full-fledged business. And so there's another way. You can go to juiceperiod.com, check them out, and give our guys some love, man, because they could definitely use it at this moment.
And by all accounts, he's a great dude. So that's just keep that in mind out there. This is sports, and then there's real life. But for the boss, Saul Bookman, Shane Diefenbach behind the scene, the man who sounds like God coming down from the mountain. I am merely Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.